If you have a child who is already connected to social media or maybe is just getting into it, this video is for you. Hey, what's going on everyone? For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Brian Lewis, and I am a youth prevention specialist for Serenity House Impact. Now, I've worked with a lot of students over the last 5 years, and the one thing that never ceases to amaze me is just how smart these kids are when it comes to technology and the latest trends. I constantly feel out of date and much older than I would like to feel, but I guess this happens to all of us at some point. As much as I would like to say that I understand this current generation, the truth is I feel like they are on a whole different level.
Future's now, old man.
"15 years ago, I was in middle school, and I was sitting at the lunch table talking with my friends about the latest movies and video games, much like kids are today. The only difference is that none of my friends had a smartphone. The big social media companies that we have today, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok, were not even on our radar. The closest thing that we even had to social media was like IMChat or MySpace. Now, I remember when some of the cooler kids in school got the Razr flip phone. For those of you who don't know, the Razr was by far the coolest phone to be out on the market long before the smartphone or iPhone craze. It's so funny to look back now and just think how awesome it was that we could send messages to each other using our phones and at only 10 cents a text.
Wow.
Okay, so I might be showing my age at this point, but the truth is that even though my generation was able to enter into high school with kind of social media and a somewhat decent phone, it's still a vast difference from the teenagers growing up today. Many, if not all children over the past 20 years have grown up in a world that is driven by technology and social media. The influence that these devices and programs have over our kids will impact their lives in a negative way. And the truth is, we're already seeing it. We know that the human brain takes roughly 25 years to fully develop. And during this time of development, it is that much easier for the brain to rewire itself for addiction. As the body receives high amounts of dopamine, like that which we would see from someone that struggles with a drug or alcohol addiction, we know that prolonged periods of this dopamine effect can cause permanent damage to the brain's development. There's been plenty of studies that have shown that social media sites can be just as addicting as any other substance. Not to mention just receiving a text from someone is enough to give you that dopamine rush. So depending on how much time is being invested in this device is ultimately going to determine just how much damage is being done. Like, have you ever seen how difficult it is for someone to give up smoking? What if you take away their source of comfort? How would they react? Usually they're going to flip out, right? They're not going to be very happy about it. So what if you took your child's phone away? How would they react? I'm willing to bet probably in the same way, right? It's very clear that our children have been affected by these devices, and it's definitely their form of comfort. Now, there are plenty of great things that have come from social media. I mean, just one is the fact that we've been able to connect with the world in a way that was never humanly possible. And there's great stories about saving people's lives and helping millions. But the truth is, we know that social media has that other side to it, where it can do just as much harm. The Social Dilemma is a documentary that came out on Netflix back in 2020. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, I would highly recommend it. But for the sake of this video, I really just want to highlight a few key points from the documentary. There's been so much truth that's come out because of it that has now helped us better understand what our kids are actually experiencing. For starters, this documentary was inspired by Tristan Harris, who was a former design ethicist at Google, and now is the co-founder of Center for Humane Technology, meaning he knows his stuff. Tristan struggled with the concept of what social media could be doing to society and ultimately how it could impact our future. Having worked for Google for many years, he was able to see just how these programs were targeting and advertising to people. I mean, you can kind of see it now on every social media site. No matter where you turn, there's going to be a multitude of ads that are following you. What shocks me the most is when people have witnessed inappropriate ads being shown to minors. Even in children's games, you never know what kind of ad is going to pop up. I think for many of us, the initial reaction would be to take the screen away and limit their exposure. But the problem is, how do you limit their exposure while at school or the park or at their friend's house? Because you might have restrictions on your child, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their friends have those same restrictions. So how can you be sure that your child is going to be safe? Well, this is the modern day struggle for every parent. Like, curfew and chaperoning were really the only things that my parents had to enforce on me when I was a teenager. But now it seems like no matter where you are or even who you are, as long as there's a screen around, the temptation to look at it is going to be there. With the introduction of Instagram and Snapchat, more and more kids are being influenced by social pressure. This kind of pressure is so much more toxic than the peer pressure that you and I might have had to deal with when we were in school. I mean, I don't know about you, but my 2005 Sprint flip phone did not have filters on the camera to alter my appearance. Actually, I take that back. It did alter my appearance because the camera quality was so bad, I was unrecognizable. Okay, but honestly, these filters that are being used to alter facial and body proportions are being used daily, which is causing a false sense of self. Since 2009, the rate at which young girls are admitted into the hospital for attempted suicide has gone up 62% for girls ages 15 to 19, and 189% for girls age 10 to 14. Compared to the first decade of this century, we have now seen that the percentage of these young girls ages 15 to 19 who have committed suicide is up 70%. And for the girls ages 10 to 14 who already had a low percentage of suicidal tendency is now up 151%. And all of this can be linked to the pressure that comes from social media. This kind of social pressure of not being pretty enough or good enough has not only caused countless deaths, but it's caused some people to actually go out and get plastic surgery to alter the way that their face looks so they look more like their filtered photos. If that's not toxic, I don't know what is. Now, another thing that we have to deal with when it comes to social media is fake news. What could we be watching or listening to or reading that could potentially change our opinion about the world? I mean, we've seen many stories where they've been able to stretch the truth or create this false or fake news. So what is stopping your kids from believing these lies? I think one of the hardest things when it comes to my job is when I see advertisements or companies that are pushing the pro-drug agenda. This creates a really difficult barrier if the people that I'm trying to educate have already received information that may or may not be true. But this doesn't just have to be about drugs. There's so much misinformation on social media that it's no wonder why a lot of people get very defensive, or it even drives them to the point where they start protesting each other. And in the documentary, it specifically states that if we don't change the course of this thing, we could potentially see ourselves in another civil war. Something else to be cautious about is just what kind of information your child might be sharing on social media. Like, do you even know their Twitter handle?
Wait, you changed your name to McLovin?
So, for instance, you might not be the kind of person that takes a picture of your food at Chili's and then tags your location, but your child might.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
I'm sorry. Just let me eat.
Who's to say that some random person couldn't stumble upon that photo and not only see what your kids ate, but now they know where they were located? There are plenty of ways for people to target your kids through social media. And we don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but I think it is very important that you're aware that your kids could be getting catfished or they could have their IP address hacked.
So it learns information about me? Seems like an invasion of privacy.
Dude, if you think that's bad, go to Google Earth and type in your address.
So there's random sites like Omegle that allow you to enter into a video chat room where you can socialize with someone as long as you want. For the most part, this is a great way to socialize, and a lot of people did this during the early stages of COVID, but it's also caught on, and now a lot more kids are getting into it. The problem is there's no way to really guarantee who you're going to interact with, so you could end up in a situation where there's a creep on the other side or something inappropriate happens. Something that people have been able to do is locate a person based off of their IP address when they log in. Even a lot of kids are getting into this thinking it's really fun.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up, man? How are
Dude,
you?
by any chance, you from Ohio?
Yo, wait. How did you know that?
Dude, I could kind of just tell. I feel like, I don't know, you give off that vibe. I used to live in Ohio. Have you ever been to Street?
Bro, wait. Yo, chill.
What?
Yo, that's
Look outside.
where I live. Yo! What the heck? Whoa, 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 whoa!
So if some random guy or girl is chatting with your child, they could potentially have the ability to look up where you live. Now, I feel like maybe I've scared you a little too much, and I just really want you to be aware of the importance of understanding that our kids are getting into a whole different level of social media than what we were ever exposed to as kids ourselves. So we need to better prepare ourselves and understand that if they're getting into it, we need to be on top of it as well. Remember that their brains are not fully developed yet. So their ability to rationalize and think critically is not on the same level as an adult. We have age restrictions for things like alcohol and tobacco, but we have no age restrictions for this thing right here. And we know that social media can do just as much damage to the brain as alcohol could. So if we wouldn't trust our kids with alcohol, why are we trusting them with social media? This is the challenge that we face today. And I can't sit here and tell you that I know how to fix this or I have all the right answers. There's certain things that I do in my own life to try and limit my screen time. But I think it comes down to each individual person, and you as a parent have to make that choice of how you're going to teach your kids to limit their time or to have a good and healthy social life on screen and off. But regardless of how much time that they're spending on social media, it's important to remember that they still are at risk for being targeted and watched by people that could potentially find them. Not just that, but also just how the media uses advertisements to sway their mind and how they view themselves. They could change the way that they look, act, and think. But ultimately, understanding their overall development is being affected by the addictive nature that comes from social media. Here's the thing. You, as a parent, have authority. I know we all want to be that kind of parent that our kids look up to and thinks is really cool, but the best thing that you can do for your kids is be their parent, not their friend. They may be upset with you for restricting their screen time or feeling like you're invading their privacy, but the truth is their lives could be at stake, not only in person, but mentally as well. I think we as the adults need to set the example for what it looks like to have a healthy social life online and offline. Because if we're going to put our kids through this, we need to be willing to do the same for ourselves. The truth is, it's not just kids that are addicted to social media. I know that there's plenty of adults who feel the exact same pressure. So we all are struggling here. But it starts with our kids. If we can teach them how to manage these emotions and these feelings that are attached to social media, it can help them as they grow up, and they can then teach it to their kids. So maybe take some time right now to sit down with your family and set some healthy boundaries. I know that this can be challenging at first, but given enough time and repetition, I am sure you will start to see some improvements in your kids' lives. Now, I want to encourage you by reminding you that you can be this positive change in your child's life. I know that you might already feel the weight of what social media has done to your child, but don't give up. There is hope for a brighter future, but it will take time. It's going to take responsible adults to step up and actually admit that there is a problem and that we need to fix it. And so it starts in the household. What can you do now that can help your kids in their future? Getting over an addiction like this can take time, so don't just cut things out completely. Take baby steps. This will help your kids eventually overcome these struggles of constantly needing to be on social media. So if you find that your kids are spending 5, 6, 7 hours on social media, maybe limit it down to 5, and then 3, and then 2. This is probably the best way to help your kids find a healthy balance between their social life on social media and their social life in the real world. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video today. Please remember to leave a like and also share this video because it will help educate others on the potential danger of social media. And ultimately, that's going to help save a lot more lives. Thank you all so much. Have a blessed day.